Hi everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Building Information Security Management System completely in Jira and Confluence. In the last episode, we looked at how to build a risk register, how to have our asset register, and how to document everything in Confluence. Today, we will look at how to build our own Threat and Vulnerability Register. We will talk about what is a threat, what is a vulnerability, and how to manage all of this in Jira. Let's jump right into it. So first of all, what is a vulnerability? Vulnerability is a weakness or a gap in an organization's information system that can be exploited by, let's say, a threat, right? So as an example of a vulnerability could be that users are not trained on spotting phishing emails, for example, or that you have outdated antivirus, or that, I don't know, everyone has admin access. This could be a vulnerability, right? And then it can be exploited by a threat. And so what is a threat, right? Threat is any potential danger or harmful event that can exploit the vulnerability affecting information system of an organization. So we talked about these vulnerabilities, like for example, users are not trained on spotting phishing emails, right? So that could be a vulnerability. The threat of that would be a phishing attack. For outdated antivirus, the threat is ransomware. For, let's say, excessive admin access, it could be like insider misuse, for example. So now you a little bit know what is a threat, what is a vulnerability. If you are more interested in the topic, I will link down below a couple more information about how to spot a threat, how to spot a vulnerability, and how to also, find out threats and vulnerabilities in your organization. Now that we have defined what is a threat and what is a vulnerability, let's look at how to build our own threat and vulnerability register. First of all, we want to create our project. So let's start with just a blank space. Let's call this Threat and Vulnerability Register. If you want, actually, you could also divide this into two different projects, one for threats and one for the vulnerabilities. And I want to have this company managed, and let's give it threat. Let's call it like that. Perfect. Let's go next and finish setting up the project. And as we did it in the previous parts, again, also here, I personally would prefer to have my own issue type associated with this space, because it will make it easier for me, to identify what is a threat without having to always write down, okay, this is a threat for each of the tickets that we will create here. So to do that, let's navigate to work items, and here let's create a new work type, threat. Let's associate it with our threat scheme, and let's give it a standard work type. Let's add this. If we want to, maybe we can customize it even more. Let's give it a little bit better icon. I think we could potentially do maybe something like this, or just upload your own icon. And let's look at the work schemes. So we have this threat register, right? We have all of these like different issue types associated with it. So maybe we can edit this as well, so that we just have the threat in there. So let's kick out this task and subtask from there, and let's save this. Perfect. Now let's jump back into Jira, and we see, okay, we have a threat and vulnerability register. What we have here, the scheme is to do, in progress, done. I personally would say we can keep it like that, or what we can do is also, maybe call it pending, in progress, and resolved, but it's only up to you. I will keep it simple today and just keep it as it is. And let's create, actually, let's don't just call it a test threat, but maybe phishing attack, right? That will be our first threat. And in here, what we want to do is maybe we want to give it some description, or we can have here a field for vulnerability, which could be that users are not trained for spotting phishing emails. So it's clear. Perfect. This ticket is pretty straightforward and quite simple, but what I would like to add here are just a couple of custom fields. Let's say severity would be important for me, and then also source of the threat. So let's go into the configure and go to the custom fields. And let's actually check, because I believe for severity, so we have here the severity for risk. I believe we can use the same severity also for the threat register. But let's create this new field called source, and we can give it actually single choice select field, and let's call it source of threat. And the options I would give is, for example, internal, external, I believe, for example, reported, advisory, in case, you know, we have a consultant that comes and advises. Perfect. And so now in the Threat and Vulnerability Register, let's configure actually how the tickets will look like. So here we want to find the threat, and let's put it here actually, maybe directly right in here, and then we want it to have the severity, risk severity. Let's also put it here, and we just use it interchangeably for risk but also for this. I think everything else we can keep like that. What we could in theory also add is another field called vulnerability, in case we want to, you know, have separate field for vulnerabilities. But in my case, I'm just gonna write it into the field that we have, into the description field of the ticket. Perfect. Let's see if this works. So source of threat, let's give it, this is external threat. And here actually what we see is that the risk severity is not working in here. So let's actually go and just create a new severity for the threat. I think that will be much easier also to handle in the future, you know, in case something changes. Threat severity, low, medium, high, critical. Critical. Perfect. Let's create this. And in here, let's customize it. Threat severity. Let's set it right in here. And let's remove this risk severity. Let's save this. And let's go back to our threat 1. Perfect, here we have it. And I would consider this to be quite high severity. I mean, it depends on your risk ranking and on your policies. How do you define different risks and the different categories for the severities? So this is it for today from my side. Thank you very much for listening and watching how to build this threat register with me. In the next episode, I'm gonna then look into how to do a risk assessment using the PASTA framework, and how to basically map it out also in Confluence, and how all of this interconnects together with the threat and vulnerabilities register. We will have probably some assets in it, and we will also have the risks in it, and it all will come together into one model of basically some risk. So thank you very much for your attention. Have a great day and see you next time. Bye-bye.